All right, we are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. On our Facebook Sourcing Monster Facebook group with Amit Rosenthal from Rosenthal Logistics. How are you today, Amit?
Never been better before, let's say it this way. I
Really?
pushed myself in the gym, in the weight room, with a new record of chest. How do you call it? Chest, whatever.
Press, like
Bench
bench
press,
press.
exactly. So I'm super pumped and happy. By the way.
That's good. That's good. I didn't know you like to lift weights, so
Yeah.
that's great. So for those of you that are here first time, this is I think the fourth or fifth time that we are doing this. This is like short lives, giving you updates about the logistics, supply chain. In the last 2 3 years, it became very big part of any seller. You know, if before you didn't really care about logistics, now you have to be more involved to understand more details, and that's what Amit doing as a professional. I consider myself that I have a lot of knowledge, but I think with logistics, I kind of really in walking in the dark and learn every day from Amit, and that's what I want to bring to you. We're gonna talk about the burning topics, and we'll talk today about 3PLs for sellers, how you deal with it, like what are the cons and pro, what you really the best guidelines to choose 3PL and to deal with them. Some extra costs for full containers that we're going to talk about to those that ship full containers from China. Things that you really need to remember and know before you ship them, and how to avoid high fees and extra fees that the ports are charging, or it's the ports or
Shipping line, shipping
the
line, shipping line, the shipping line.
okay, yeah. So yeah, without further ado, let's start. I can tell from my end as an Amazon seller that it's the best time ever. Every day it's a new record of sales, and things got connected and I got enough stock. I also shipped with a meat air express shipping, and it was I think it was like $6 per unit or something around like that, because I shipped 1,000 units, and it's like double the price than the actual cost of the item, which is like $3.5. So that's
Yeah.
absurd. But it is what it is. I just do it to keep myself in stock. Um, and yeah, so for seller like me that need 3PL, what are the things to consider before choosing one, and how you would really give directions on where to find one? Like, should you Google it? Should you ask your friends? What are the criteria and things to remember when choosing 3PL?
Yeah, so before we start talking about the 3PL, I just want to say that I'm talking with multiple sellers on a daily basis. I can say that, like, with all the delays that happening now with logistics in general, like, at least I can say one thing, that everyone that I'm talking with is super happy now and pumped because of his breaking his sales velocity, and everybody when they're selling in a high velocity are happy. So it's a good agenda to start discussing about logistics, because really it's a logistics terror or logistics nightmare this time of the year, and I have a lot of things to add here as an input to your audience, Tomer. So let's start talking about the 3PL itself. Generally speaking, I would say that especially in the last year, when Amazon started to do a limit on your stock, or your inventory you can send to FBA center, so it's became not just a necessary issue to have a 3PL, it's a must, meaning almost all sellers I know have or must use 3PL, in addition to ship cargo to FBA center directly. Meaning, if you have, let's say, 1,000 units, so you can ship 200, 400 units to FBA center, and the rest of the units you have to find a 3PL in order to ship there. And from there, once you have you got the open of new limitation to ship to Amazon, so you can move additional inventory from the 3PL directly to FBA center. So first of all, we need to recognize that now it's a must to have a 3PL in the United States. So in this regard, I can say that it's easy, like there is like 3PL from in the past 2 years, like it's grew dramatically, the number of 3PL across the US. There is better ones with integration to Amazon or to other platform. There is other 3PLs which is smaller with more, let's say, direct communication with the 3PL owner. So eventually, when you choose a 3PL, it's really depend on how you like to work with your service provider. If you like to have a better communication with the owner, or if you like to be in a more big, let's say, working with a big company, everyone have his own advantage and disadvantage. Okay, so
Yeah.
this maybe Tomer, you can put your input in this regard. I can say from my point of view, and this is the main thing I want to emphasize. People normally choosing or finding their 3PL, let's say something between January to September, okay? But when you have a workflow, let's say on March, it will be a total different story when it's gonna be November, December, all right? Because of course the highest season or the peak season of any 3PL across the US is on the holiday season, let's say start on November. So everyone now give me some inputs that they are not getting quick respond, or the lack of communication, or it's taking a week for a shipment to be processed to be ready to ship to FBA center. So first of all, when you're doing your inventory management, all right, you have to recognize when you ship goods in this time of the year, it's take time or more time to the 3PL to process your shipment and to make it ready for UPS or for any other truck delivery to FBA center. So first of all, this is a key point I think everybody need to recognize, because all the 3PL across the US, especially on the West Coast now, have a lack of people, have a human resource problem, because 3PL normally Amazon pay, higher salary, give other benefits such as
Here it's for temporary employees. Look, hear that. So they pay $18 like base fee per hour,
yeah,
plus bonus, I think for extra hours, $3 more an hour,
yeah,
plus sign up bonus of $3,000 for temporary employees. The employees that so what
on Amazon,
why they're
on
doing
Amazon,
it.
right?
Yeah, on Amazon. Why they're
Yeah,
doing it? They are doing it because they value all their seasonal employees, and they're thinking about the next year. So
exactly.
they are really building relationships with those, offering them, permanent jobs and all of that. And no one can really beat those prices because they're so like rich company and have so many resources. So
Right.
yeah,
So the
I agree
problem
with
is
you about
the
that.
problem is that then the 3PL itself doesn't have enough employee, especially during the holiday season. So everybody on the same situation, and as a seller, you need to recognize the issue, and therefore, like for now, it's maybe already late, all right, but for next year, it's important to try to process your inventory, that you will reach the 3PL even 2 weeks or 3 weeks period to what you was thinking before, just to have enough time to the 3PL to process your shipments, etc. All right, so this is one issue. Second issue is really related to the situation now at US, across US, with the train, with the shipping, with the logistics, with
Are
the
you gonna
port.
talk now about the full containers?
No. I'm
Okay.
still talking about the 3PL, and I'm
Yep.
talking about where to look at the 3PL. If to look it on the West Coast, the East Coast, what's the benefit, what's the
Okay.
disadvantage in this regard? Okay, so generally speaking, we would like to say that when you choose a 3PL, if it's on the, let's say, on the California or at New York or Miami, there will be higher cost for the 3PL itself, because there is a rent, higher rent. The employee there are
The
a higher
overhead costs, yeah, are much
overhead cost.
bigger on the West Coast.
Exactly. So when you're gonna choose a 3PL at California or at Los Angeles, the cost for almost 100% will be higher compared to Chicago or to, I don't know, Memphis or somewhere in the middle of United States. Okay, the advantage, the advantage of using 3PL in California or New York is mainly the transit time and the shipping cost to the 3PL itself. Because when you ship from China to United States, the cheapest cost shipping to the States is going to be Los Angeles. So sometimes maybe you're gonna have lower cost for the 3PL, let's say in Dallas, but the shipping cost itself can be higher in 30%, okay? And the transit time can be longer in a month even. So
From my point of view as an Amazon seller, it's less about the 30% more for the shipping or the less about the fees, for the Dallas location. It's about the time. Every day
exactly,
counts. Every day that you lose sales counts. And it's people not always looking at those things. This is why
exactly,
important.
exactly. So again, like the situation now in Los Angeles is really catastrophic, and this is to say the least. But in general speaking, I would recommend to go for 3PL in California, in Oakland, in Washington states, just because the transit time is shorter significantly than moving cargo to central of the United States. Another good alternative will be shipping to New York or New Jersey. Again, the shipping time there is about 40 days. This day specific, there is no congestion almost compared to Los Angeles. So even if the transit time is a bit longer to New York, comparing with the backlog at Los Angeles now, so New York is a good idea as well to find a 3PL. But again, there is hundreds of 3PL across the United States. I think everybody can Google, everybody can search with other sellers or other freight forwarders. There is a
and
lot of
and try us.
recommendation
We offer 3PL services,
for
so
sure.
definitely, give us a try it. But you gave me an idea here. So you mentioned, so even if the transit time from China to New York port or New Jersey is longer, to New York, or I don't know in New York which port is that, but
Mhm.
but the actual processing is much faster because there is no backlog. it,
Right.
it might be better idea to ship to the East Coast. Now, my question to you: how much more expensive is to ship it, from to the West Coast, or comparing to the East Coast? Is it
Right.
like 50
So
to 100% more in cost, or it's like
yeah,
20, 30%?
I will give you a roughly assumption, but let's start with the transit time. Okay. Going to Los Angeles now, the transit time is roughly about 20-25 days, port to port only. All right. On average, I think we did a live like 2 weeks ago. There was an average vessel anchored outside of Los Angeles port for 13 days. Now it's reached to 18 days, and this is only on average, okay? And this is before we even discuss about the vessel enter to port discharge and the container be available for pickup, okay? So really, not just in my company, you can talk to other sellers as well. I'm telling you for sure, there is some shipments taking about 50 days from departure, and there is some shipments took more than 120 days going to
I have
California.
shipments like 70 days still, like.
Yeah, and this is mainly because I have some vessels anchored outside of Los Angeles for 50 days plus, all right? Just anchored
15,
outside of 50, Tomer, 50.
50 days.
Just anchored outside of port with no prediction when it's gonna enter to port. So you have to
I want to ask you something. So, well, like I told you, I have a shipment 70 days already. Nothing really moved. Maybe they tell me on the 21st it might be like, unloaded just on the
yeah,
21st.
yeah.
Whatever. It's going to take probably like 2 to 3 weeks after that to just have it here. My question to you: I had another shipment, went a month after that shipment, same kind of type of shipment, regular C. I think it
Yeah,
was EMC, like the slowest.
evergreen. EMC,
Yeah,
is evergreen.
yeah,
Carrier.
which is very slow, right? Like the slowest, the cheapest, right?
It's like regular. It's regular sea
Yeah,
shipment.
regular C. And it came like it came like to this week, which
Yeah.
I was surprised. So how does it even possible? Like every vessel like is different. How they can get it like faster than the other ones? What's going on?
Like you want a real answer? I have no
I
answer.
think I know some of it. So one shipment stopped in Korea. This Chinese
Yeah, yeah,
vessel.
yeah, but it's not related to that. Like I'm telling
Okay.
you, how long a vessel will anchored outside of LA port, it's like beyond my capability, and I've really no idea why some vessels take like 2 weeks and other vessels like for more than a month,
I
and
think it's
some
the amount
vessels
of money you're willing to bribe someone, right?
like really like I would say yeah, but you have to remember that the shipping line are super rich companies, all right, and they have all the money in the world to bribe somebody, but eventually it's costs them much higher cost to anchor the outside of port and not moving globally. So the reason and why some vessels sits 20, others sits 40, and others sits 60 days anchor outside of port, it's beyond my recognition. I'm telling you honestly. But if we talking about like if we go back to the 3PL issue here, so going to Los Angeles these days again can take 50 to let's say 120 days. All right, the shipping time going to New York is roughly 35 to 40 days port to port, and there is almost zero backlog there comparing to Los Angeles. So eventually, you can have faster delivery going to New York than going to Los Angeles. Okay, and the cost normally go to New York relatively is roughly about 25% higher in
Oh,
shipping cost compared to Los Angeles.
that's
Okay,
not a lot. I was expecting much more. So
that's
this is
not
a
a lot.
strategy. You look, usually when you ask for regular C and you tell the location, like by default, freight forwarders, they will do it through West Coast. You have to ask for that. Like you have to ask for a quote for for East Coast as well. Compare it. Take all these things in consideration when you decide.
Right, right.
What
Another
about
thing,
Auckland? I know
Tomer,
it's a West
another
Coast.
I will say about Auckland, Tomer, another thing I want to emphasize, and again, we like me as a company owner and you as a partner of mine, we don't believe in trying to sell for other sellers, all right, shipping, etc. We believe in trying to give content or real content, and by that, sellers will decide if they want to work with us or with the other sellers. But I'm seeing a lot of Chinese freight forwarder saying to customer, listen, regular C will take to Los Angeles or to Dallas 40 to 45 days just to have another sale. Listen, it's far from truth. All right.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
transit time is unknown. And as always, I'm always try to say, always try to measure your inventory or to calculate your inventory and your stock based on worst case scenario and not on best case scenario, because eventually if a freight forwarder will tell you, listen, the transit time will take 45 days and it will take 4 months, so you will be out of stock, you will be misery, and your whole plan will be fucked up.
Yeah,
So
zero transparency, and it's actually not just transparency, they're actually like lying to you to get your business. And they promise you things, and for experienced sellers, even if a Chinese freight forwarder would come and tell them, hey, look, this will come in 30 days, they're kind of seasoned already to understand that it's not the true. But a lot of sellers, especially new ones, don't realize that it's not the truth. So, what Amit is doing, being transparent. It's all about how we operate, and that's why I really respect that you're really transparent, telling the truth, nothing really to hide. And we try to provide value. We're not really pushing any service, but yeah, it's
right.
it's it's true. Like a lot of times, I was burned and all these promises. Now, what we West Coast, Auckland, I guess it's should be faster time because it's closer to China, right? So what is the situation in the Bay Area? Like processing time, they have backlog. What you can tell people, maybe they will ship there instead of to LA port.
Yeah, this is a good question. And by the way, I have a good client that working with me almost exclusively for the last 4 years. He asked me yesterday, he said to me, listen, I have another seller, a friend of mine that said to me, listen, if Los Angeles is backlog, maybe we ship to Oakland. So the situation there is the following. First of all, like there is backlog, not as severe as in Los Angeles, but there is backlog in Oakland, all right? So this is first of all need to recognize. The second thing is that most of carriers, normally the routing will be from Shanghai or Shenzhen, which is the last port in China, or Qingdao in the north of China, going to Los Angeles, and from Los Angeles going to Oakland, and from Oakland going to Tacoma. So even if you're going to choose Oakland, for instance, all right, eventually the vessel will start by first station in Los Angeles. So there is really not a big advantage in this regard going to ship to Oakland, all right? This is one thing.
Okay. So it doesn't
Second,
go directly to Oakland. It stops
yeah,
somewhere.
yeah,
It's
there
like
is,
this ship that I told you, not North Korea, South Korea. It stopped there. I guess I heard about this term, which was I was amazed first time I heard about that. That you have like vessels, they go through Singapore just to save on customs or duties and stuff like that. Maybe you can explain about this. I know it's not that related, but it's important to understand that okay, you ship from China, it doesn't go directly to LA. It stops some other ports, and I wasn't really aware of it. But maybe you can give us a little information. I think it's something people
yeah,
would love to hear.
listen, it's really to dive really deep into logistics, okay? But generally speaking, like there is like shipping line, every shipping line and every shipping company have their own route, all right, across the globe, all right? Some vessel, let's say, going from, let's say you load the cargo at Shenzhen, all right? The routing will be Shanghai going to Ningbo, Shenzhen going to Ningbo, Ningbo going to Shanghai, Shanghai going to
Yep.
Qingdao, north of China, from Qingdao going to South Korea, to Busan, let's say. There, the vessel will do transshipment, meaning all the
Yeah,
containers
that's the
going to
term.
Los
Yeah.
Angeles will discharge it at Singapore or at South Korea, and will load to a new vessel going directly to Los Angeles. Why is that? It's just a routing, and it's a global routing. It's
But the
really really
transfer done to save on customs, no, like tariffs and stuff like
no,
that.
no, 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 no.
No.
There is really no related to this issue at all. It's really about shipping company and the routing. Normally, when you're gonna have a transmission port during transportation, so the cost for the freight itself will be lower comparing to choose a direct shipping line, let's say going from Shanghai to Los Angeles directly. But freight forwarder normally takes some kind of advantage in this regard, meaning they say to you, listen, I quoted you per LCL, I don't know, $300, $400 per CBM. We are not telling you, listen, it's going via transshipment or direct vessel. This is really, this is really diving deep into logistics, but it's for a different
You're
story.
getting into your business on how you make money. But yeah. So yeah, that was something interesting that I was really aware of. And you know what? Another question in regards to that, not really related to pricing or anything, but um, so why they do that? They really go and stop in every port. Why they don't just go directly? They don't have enough containers in the loading destination. The I
Yeah, all
mean,
right. So,
where they ship.
so So, like most of the vessel, all right, most of the vessel now, or the big vessel, especially going from China to US, which is the biggest market, I guess, across the world, all right. Normally, the vessel are big, and when I'm talking about big, I'm talking about minimum 12,000 TEU. TEU is a 20-foot container, all right. 40 I cube is like two times 20 foot.
Yep.
So it's a huge vessels, all right. Like you're going to airplane. Like if you're going to a flight now, of course, the airline would like to have a full aircraft, all right, with full people. So same situation here. Like going from Shanghai to Los Angeles with such a size of a vessel, so they have maybe 8,000 containers, all right? But the
Okay.
shipping line would like to load as a maximum capacity as possible on the vessel itself.
So they
So
stop
this
in
is
all
the
these the
reason,
other ports. Okay.
yeah, this is the reason why they're going to other ports and load cargo from there, discharge at this destination, and let's say from Los Angeles, they're going to Tacoma. Tacoma, they're unloading some other containers, loading other containers going from Tacoma to Canada, and it's a global movement.
Understood. Let's talk about the full containers or people that ship containers, not LCL. These are for the bigger sellers and those that with enough cash flow to buy enough inventory and ship it ahead of time, I guess. Um, what is the situation right now in LA port? We all hear about those fines, extra surcharges. What's going on there, and how people can by understanding this info that you're going to provide, save or take some steps or actions to really mitigate this.
Yeah, first of all, it's important to me to say that even like Tomer, I'm telling you that even if you believe that somebody that ship full container have enough knowledge about logistics in general, so you are absolutely wrong, right? Like I'm talking with a lot of sellers shipping full containers. They know maybe to sell on Amazon, but they have zero understanding about logistics and what does it mean to ship full container in general speaking, all right? So being, I don't want to be rude, okay, but being unprofessional doesn't make you like being unprofessional is not a reason not to pay money or to avoid paying money that shipping line or freight forwarder uh, like debit your side, all right? So it's important, as we discuss all the time, it's important to be experienced and have the knowledge in field you are handling. Logistics is really, really important, especially in this time when everything is chaotic, all right? So what
Yeah,
happened
so,
in
so I'm
this
sorry to interrupt. What you're saying is super important to this live. Even if you don't have like full, it's gonna be 30, 35 minutes this live. Even if you don't have the whole time right now to listen, put yourself a reminder, listen to it. We're talking about things that I can promise you that 99% of the Amazon FBA channels are not really talking about, or even the logistics and freight forwarders. So this is an information that definitely could help you. Put it in the background, listen to it later if you can't do it now.
Absolutely. By the way, Tomer, you can never know. You can start with selling 50 cartons, and you can reach on selling hundreds and thousands of cartons in 2 years from now. So everything is important. If not important now, it's going to be important in 1 year or 2 years from now. So absolutely related to what you said. Coming back to the situation, so full container is totally different situation from shipping LCL less than full container. Okay, when you ship a full container, there is a lot of additional charges that can be applied, and it applied on United States specific. All right. We don't want to start to enter into every segment here. We can maybe share maybe Tomer, we can share some link or to share some sheet about what we're going to discuss. But generally speaking, full container have demurrage and detention cost. Okay, what is demurrage? What is the cost and what is detention means? Okay, let's start by the definition. Demurrage cost, shipping line say to a seller or to a freight forwarder this thing. Listen, this is the container, all right, my telephone. Once the container touch the ground on the port, doesn't matter which port is it, you have normally between 4 to 5 free days to pick up the container from port outside, all right? So let's say today is December 9th and you have 4 days free time. So you must take the container outside of the port until December 13th, all right? In case you don't pick up the container, and there is so many reasons why it's not happening this time, all right? Because the container is located in a closed area. The port doesn't get authorization to pick up the container. You want to come up, you get the authorization to pick up the container. There is no such chassis available across Los Angeles. So many incidents can happen now. So what happened now? Shipping line said to you, listen, the container sits more than 5 days at port. We start to debit you on a daily tariff. What is the tariff, Tomer? It starts by $200 to $250 per day, all right, per day. And after a week, it can reach to $300 per day. And I have some clients that the container was sit on Los Angeles port, on a closed area, for 3 weeks plus, and they received the demurrage cost of more than $5,000, all right?
Can you dispute this? Can you fight back on it? Because it's not under your control. How, like,
Shipping line, sorry to be rude, shipping line said to you, you understand? So shipping line, you have to remember, shipping line, the empty container is the most, is the biggest essence of them, all right? Because with empty containers, they can move cargo across the globe. So they say to you, listen, we need the container. We don't care about the situation. We don't care about you. We don't care about Los Angeles port. We need the container.
I
Another
think they
thing,
know what they're doing because they don't care about the small seller, but everyone gonna talk about it and put pressure so things will move faster.
Tomer, they're earning a lot and hundreds of millions of dollars on the demurrage cost. Believe me,
Wow.
hundreds of millions of dollars per year just on the demurrage cost. All right. Another term is detention. Detention means that once, all right, after 2 weeks or after 10 days, you pick up the container, all right, from the port. Now you have free time to bring out the empty container, all right? In this regard, once the container moved out of the port, detention starts. Now detention is not such higher cost as demurrage. It can be something about $50 to $60 per day. But if you are multiply the demurrage with the detention, with the waiting time, all right, the carrier provide, with the chassis fee, pre-pull, and some other charges that you are not even familiar with, container can even reach to $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 just on additional costs. So in this regard, you have to remember, first of all, as a seller or as an importer, you have to recognize and to acknowledge there is such tariff and such tariff can be applied, all right? Second thing is the discussion, all right? What are we gonna do now, all right? So in this regard, I have the solution. In my opinion, the only solution is to find these days alternative and not cheap to Los Angeles, because as we discussed about New York is not that congested as Los Angeles. There is not such a backlog as Los Angeles. So not just you are eventually have almost the same shipping time, if not less. You're gonna pay less, but significantly less extra cost in the United States. It can be applied to Tacoma Port. It can be applied to New York, to Miami, to Charleston.
Or is Tacoma
To
port?
Tacoma in Washington,
Okay.
to Houston, or any other alternative that you have for full container.
Why they
And
don't do it on LCLs only for full container? Because there's one person they can talk with, and with LCL they have to really.
LCL from the start is calculated differently, and shipping line see LCL differently from FCL, so it's a different
Tell
story.
people what is LCL to those of you that don't really understand. What is even LCL compared to a full container?
Like LCL, like there is full containers and there is LCL. LCL is less than truckload, I think. The
I think like
definition.
that. I also don't know the exact
We can check it. We can
acronym
check
for
it in
that.
WhatsApp in Google. But the general idea, we have full container 20 GP. You can load maximum 28 to 30 CBM in a 20 GP.
Yeah,
You have
LCL is less than container load.
less than container load, exactly. You have 40 GP. which you can load roughly about 55 to 58 CBM. You have 40 high cube, which you can load roughly 65 to 68 CBM. You have 45 high cube, and you have other container, like I don't want to start talking about the other containers available, all right? But generally speaking, you ship 20 GP or 40 high cube or LCL. So as long as you have less, let's say, than 28 CBM, 20 CBM, 15 CBM, 10 CBM, 5 CBM, so you ship the goods as LCL.
Okay, so good. So why they don't do it on LCL? These charges?
Shipping line doesn't put such a demurrage cost and give much more extra days for LCL container compared to FCL. But why is it? It's a complex event to start to explain. But generally speaking, again, it's really depend. Like you have to recognize also, Tomer, that people, let's say you ship a full container load, all right? You have there 65 CBM, I don't know, 1,000 cartons, 10,000 units, all right? So eventually, if you're gonna pay even $5,000 extra cost, I don't say it's not a lot, it's a lot of money, all right? But eventually, it will cost, I don't know, half a dollar, $1 per item. It's not that much. So of course, when you ship full container, you're gonna save a lot of cost per unit, but you have to recognize that you're gonna face other charges, and shipping full container is more complex than shipping
It's too risky
LCL.
in my opinion. I think it's just too risky to take the chance of you paying like 5, 10, I don't know, like two, that doesn't matter, those amounts. Now you
It's
mentioned that one of your clients had so much inventory or it's so much high fees that they just said, you know what, I just don't gonna pick up the goods. What happened in that situation? Let's say it happens to me, I shipped a full container and they come and tell me, you know what, you have an extra surcharge of 10,000 for those fees. And I said, you know what, like, excuse me, but like, go, fuck it, and just let the goods there. So what happens in that situation? I always say, like, destroy it. They get their money, this 10,000. What's going on? How it works?
it's a very, very, very big problem for the freight forwarders. I can say to you this way: I don't like. There is not a lot of circumstances that people pay already. You know, the goods from China for the supplier. I don't know, put $150,000, $100,000 for the inventory, and then they said, okay, I don't want
That's true.
the goods. It's not happened that much. It can happen. I heard a rumor that there is a lot of auction now of containers that been dumped by sellers, that people are trying to buy the goods or the merchandise in a lower cost.
Basically, the
Listen,
freight forwarder is still gonna have to pay those fees. So that means that, yeah, so that's pretty much not gonna happen, because if you already work with the freight forwarder, it's like you're telling him, I'm not paying you. Yeah, so it's the end of the relationship pretty much.
yeah.
So I don't think this is, like you said, something that will happen for like serious sellers that really long term. Like if it's a maybe a new seller, it just like surprised and he got this fee, maybe it could happen. But I yeah, so
Listen,
maybe I didn't
I'm telling you, and I'm telling you it again. As you become a more serious seller, all right, or you're looking as yourself as a seller, and this is your business, so you have to be professional in your own business. There is no way you can act the same shipping 20 boxes or shipping full containers. It's a different story. You have to be expert in what you do, and part of being expert, like you, Tomer, expert, I don't know, in PPC or whatever, all right, you have to be expert on logistics as well. A big company across the world, or the big company, I'm not talking about Amazon seller now, or the big
have a
company,
team for logistics
importers
experts.
across the globe, not just in States, have a specific team just on the logistics side, and there is a reason for that. And again, that you as a seller don't familiar with the term, with the definition, with the extra cost, doesn't mean that you not need to pay it eventually. So
Yeah.
remember it, Be professional in your own way, talking with a freight forwarder before handling full container loads, and eventually things will be okay.
100%. Then what? So very in the last few days, I'm working with my team on creating a new type of video. It's gonna be like Who Wants to Be Millionaire, like a quiz for
Yeah,
Amazon specific questions. And I must admit, I saw it on a channel that you recommended. It's a logistics guy from Thailand, I think.
yeah,
And I saw this video where he asked questions about logistics, like in a quiz format, and I said, wow, this is amazing. Why? Because it will engage people, force them to think. And that's what I'm gonna do also with logistics. So we're gonna work now on the next maybe a week or two on creating a quiz of a new format with questions like what is FOB means, maybe some basic stuff, and then we're gonna add some advanced stuff with your help if you will allow me, and provide some questions that are repeating and are important for any sellers to know. So yeah, it could be a nice thing to do. And I agree with you. It's not like before. People let you have to expertise, knowledge about logistics, how it works, and that's what we're trying to do here. Give you free information, free value, and that hopefully will help you in your business. So we plan to do it like shorter than 41 minutes, but we had a lot to talk about, some interested stuff that we didn't plan: transshipping, extra costs, LCLs, other ports. This is packed with value. So like I said before, even if you don't have time right now to listen to the entire thing, leave yourself a reminder, listen to it later. It's a relevant information for now and will still be relevant in 2 3 years from now.
right.
So like Amit told me one day, the logistics world, it's old school and it's not going to change soon. So
Yeah.
um, I think that's something that I agree with it 100%.
Tomer,
um,
with the quiz or with the Q&A we would like to attend for, let's say, in a week or 2 week, I can suggest maybe, like, again, we discussed it yesterday, I think, by phone. Like, I get millions of questions on a daily basis. Most of the questions are similar, all related to logistics, of course, all right, but a lot of questions are similar. Maybe it's a good idea that our audience will send you by mail or wherever you're going to say them, give them some box to drop some question regarding logistics in general, everything you have, and surprise me, like in 2 weeks or whenever we're going to set it. Surprise me with the audience question, and we will try to give information and give answers to all of them.
yeah. And Sharon, yes, I don't know if it's Japanese. I know he's from Thailand. Its name is Ino, and he have a great YouTube channel about logistics.
Yeah,
And Amit recommended me to watch some of the videos there, and some maybe it's not great for Amazon sellers because it's more for freight for their employees and for people really like want to get deep understanding about freight and logistics. But yeah, it's a great channel, and I take a lot of inspiration from there, including this thing. And as far as the questions, yeah, we're gonna drop them here, and just we'll make this kind of format for the next video or Q&A.
perfect.
Amit, I would like to thank you again for all this information and value. I wish
Thank
you
you.
a nice weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Peace, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.